The 13th Amendment oops, Amendment did not stop slavery. The 13th Amendment did not end slavery, especially not in the South. I will be showing you how it was not. By watching this video, you start to be taking off these rose colored glasses. You'll be learning they don't want you to know. Learning the real information that's been banned from states. Not just banned from states recently, but banned from states for like a century and a half about. It's not going to be comfortable. You'll be learning the real and unfiltered truth. It will be uncomfortable. It's not going to be fun. And I know by sounding like this, I will probably drop the retention rate. But I want you to know this. If you watch this and really listen, if you really truly take what I say into account, you'll be taking the first steps to awaken your mind. Firstly, let's talk about the most well known form of this sharecropping. Sharecropping, it was used a decent bit, but not as much as people think. It was a lot more subdued because most of the time it was just with white people. Well, first, I should say what it was. It was essentially a landowner would rent parts of their land to a tenant. They would do the work and they would get paid for it, or they'd, well, I should say, get a portion of the profits. The issue is the power imbalance as well as the fact that the tenants would have to often buy from the landowners. So it caused that imbalance. They become indebted so much. They're essentially a slave. But mostly white people were part of it. So it did remain at least a little bit tamer than some of the other ones I'll be going into. One of the other somewhat known forms was chain gangs. It's kind of known, as well as I'll talk about later, convict leasing from Shawshank Redemption. It was just a form of free prison labor. It was used post Reconstruction, so like post 1877 or so. It was almost only black people in it, and like the people in it, you could say if you can't do the time, then don't do the crime. But most of the people didn't really do it. Well, they technically did break the law, but the law isn't really what's moral or what's wrong. It was just whatever they decided. Vagrancy was a crime. Literally just standing there, like just standing, was a crime if you were black. Or homeless fines. If you were fucking homeless, you'd have to pay a fine. As well as things like if you're a prostitute. Or if they think you're unemployed, you have to show proof of it. But most of these people just got out of slavery, so they didn't really have any opportunities. And Jim Crow laws were very prevalent, so they weren't allowed to work. So they were forced into these things. There was nothing they could really do. You were just a criminal from your conception, from your very birth. They blamed it on the victims as well. They continue to do this too. They say that they tried to run away. So then, because they tried to run away, now they can do it even more. It, it was more. It was especially bad if you did try to run. If you tried to live your life on your own terms, you were especially punished. I believe it was like an extra 3 months or so. And they do it now. They say he tried to run away. He pulled out a gun. They use these same dog whistling tactics. And if you were caught, and you were, because there was a whole state, a whole country against you, you'd be forced to work tirelessly in a ball and chain in the bleeding hot sun. And they're not even gone. They're literally still around now in some states in the South. Really think about that. People are forced to work for literally free in the South, encased in a ball and chain in the 2020s. Like, it's hard to even fathom just how evil these were. They had to do such hard work, such as building railroads or mining work. Things that just destroy your body. But it wasn't just chain gangs you had to worry about. It was also convict leasing, which is exactly what it sounded like. They leased people to private companies and to private people. They also use a vagrancy in stupid laws, and they get convicted because what it, They'd say it's a trial of your peers, but your peers were all white and the peers all hated you. So what do you think's gonna happen? You're gonna lose. Of course you are. What else is gonna happen? You're just gonna lose. You're just gonna get convicted. It could even be argued that this new system of comic leasing was even worse because it wasn't just like a few big plantation owners. Think if you want to take like a pop culture example, think like a Calvin Candy or whatever. It wasn't just these one individuals doing this. No, it was anyone could do it now. I believe it was about $30 now in today's money a week to have free slave labor essentially. But it wasn't just directly from the prisons. It was very There's also a very corrupt, very evil system. It was debt peonage and labor contracts, but especially debt peonage. The other path was this one. Instead of having a white wolf to overtly just buy where the state would directly lease you out, no. As Malcolm put it, a white fox, your friend, would come. You say, hey, I can help you with this. Just plead guilty and I'll pay off your fines. And then you can work for me for a few months. And then we square it, And they'd force them to sign a contract. A contract which they could not read because they had been banned from reading for centuries and had no way of learning. It's essentially now an old version of a plea deal, which we see now. Plea deals now are the prosecutors will tell you, just don't go to trial. There's no point. I mean, 98% of those incarcerated never see trial. 98%. Even back then, they at least had a fake trial. Now we just don't. But I digress. When there were the trials, though, they were so heavily built against them. It was so. Just imagine a courtroom and a court all being paid off. The judges would be owned by these debt peoners. They wouldn't just do it. Wasn't just one-off experiences. There was lots of people in the South, like John W. Pace, Fletcher Turner, George Cosby, the McCree brothers. They were big, like they had big plantations. One's rivaling the sizes of the biggest antebellum slave plantations, hundreds of workers. And it was about, I believe, 16,666 times bigger than a football field. Almost 20,000 times, or about, let's just say, 15,000 times bigger than a goddamn football field. That's how big these slave plantations were in the South. In 1903, how are we really going to say that it's gone? The slavery was gone. That peonage was this bad. Someone that went down in the South to document it, they themselves said that it was even worse than old slave times because at least then the owners had some sort of care for the slaves. It was like a horse, you know? Like, you don't care about it, but you're gonna at least see to it that it doesn't die because you paid for it, like a lot for it. Here, they were just tools. You break them, you can always just buy another. And it did happen. This happened every day in the South. Every day, and no one talks about it. We're letting this history die. We're letting these people die truly. Because if no one remembers your name, what legacy do you have left? An actual step I have for you is to watch the documentary Slavery by Another Name. It's for free on YouTube. It's by PBS. It's for free from on the PBS website, I should say. If you want to start to make a difference by informing yourself to then inform others and better yourself, I would start there. You're learning what they did, how they do it still, and the things that those in power don't want you to know. They do not want you to know these things. They've banned this book. They banned this book because it is that important. It is that poignant. So, if the government doesn't want you to know it, it's probably a good reason, and it's probably not a good reason. Thank you.